Okay. Well, so, Transfigurations. This is one of the episodes with an Alien of the Week that's just super Alien of the Week. It's also a strange episode because of the time scale. See, most episodes are explicitly within a matter of days or hours. So, some of them are literally the amount of time it takes you to watch the episode. That's the amount of time it took in universe. But this one actually has a time scale that's a matter of weeks. Okay? Yeah, that's a bit weird. Anyways, the Enterprise is exploring and documenting unexplored solar systems because Federation needs to categorize all of the planets that they claim as their territory but don't actually live in. And this is the Zeta Gellus cluster. Now, the Zalconians don't actually live in the Zeta Gellus cluster. Yeah, that's the funny part. Zalcon is several parsecs away, and the Zalconians don't seem to have any colonies outside their home system. Why not? I don't know. They're one of the most egregious examples of a super interesting alien of the week that, for some unknowable reason, is also super isolationist. I know, it's a thing that comes up a lot. So many aliens in Star Trek that just live on their home planet and nowhere else. But, again, it's what we have to work with, because that's the way the episode was written. Now, the B-plot for this is interesting because it involves Christy Henshaw. Which was like, oh, that's a character that, oh wait, only appeared in 2 episodes, but did actually appear in 2 episodes. The weird part is that I looked it up. They're not episodes written by the same person. They're not. Why exactly did someone bother with this? I don't know. Well, okay, I do know. See, because in the episode, they wanted to highlight that John Doe was having a strange effect on those around him by having Geordie LaForge's approach to convincing Christy Henshaw to go out with him be different and actually work this time. So, you know, they had to use a character that he'd actually attempted to date before. Not that most people would remember her because the fact that her previous appearance was a blink and you miss it cameo, but you know, hey, they did actually use someone that he'd attempted to date before for this reason. Anyways, it is interesting though that this is the only time that she was seen after the first one. They mentioned that the relationship seemed to be going well the second time he tried it anyways, but they we never see her again. Anyways, so that's actually a minor B plot item because again, this episode has a whole bunch of like weird things with like, oh, the presence of John Doe on the ship is having weird effects on people. Like one, John Doe couldn't heal people just by touching them. Yeah. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. while they were doing their exploration of the Zeta Gallus star cluster, they detect a crashed small ship and a faint life sign in the wreckage. They realize that... Now, one thing that's interesting here is that they actually start by having LaForge and Christy Henshaw not go anywhere, because like she's here, but this is him failing to talk to her in an interesting way. Anyway, though, so in the episode, they have LaForge strike out with her. Anyways, then they go down to the crashed Zalconian escape pod. This is interesting because part of why I was saying that and the Zalconians are one of the most egregious examples of a super interesting alien of the week is that it's a single planet in a single solar system that has what is, by Federation standards, advanced tech. Now, I'm not going to say that it's better than Federation technology. It's not necessarily universally good by Federation standards, but there are certain things in their technology that the Federation can't do. And that is something kind of scary. Now, having a computer system that uses gel-filled capsules as part of the computer. Star Trek Voyager later did that with those bio gel packs. That was a thing that happened. We don't know exactly what these are, though. Anyway, the other thing with this is that this is an escape pod that was jettisoned from the main craft and not the actual ship that flew to this star system. So it's not clear exactly how many Zalconians were on board the ship that left Zalcon to come here. Now, there are 3 dead Zalconians in the escape pod. One mostly dead Zalconian who gets better. But other than that, we don't really have a whole lot of information about this particular ship. It is interesting looking, though. They definitely made it not look like Federation tech. This is actually one of those things that's interesting simply because of the fact that they actually went to the trouble of building a set to beam down and look at stuff for a few minutes. Anyways, so Crusher does this weird thing where she treats the alien by somehow making a neural link between LaForge's neural network and the aliens, which supposedly helps stabilize the alien somehow. How does that work with a non-human race? I have no idea. Star Trek medicine. Anyways, though. Anyways, so this is actually kind of sort of where the whole thing of LaForge and Christy Henshaw comes from, though, is that LaForge gets bonded to John Doe and then becomes more confident and outgoing. And then when he talks to Christy Henshaw, she's actually on board with dating him. And it's like, huh, that's interesting. Anyways. Oh yeah, also, they detected in orbit debris indicating a ship had been destroyed in orbit. Hmm. And let's see here. They analyzed the computer memory module that they swiped from the space pod. And Crusher realizes that John Doe is recuperating much faster than she was expecting. And that his cells are mutating, and she's not entirely sure what's going on. Why exactly Worf is expecting Data and LaForge to relax, I don't know. Seriously though. Anyways, this is the part where things get interesting, though, is that the time lapse in this episode, as I mentioned earlier, is several weeks. So LaForge spends several weeks over the course of this episode hanging out with Christy Henshaw. So it's not just a single scene where he, hangs out with her. No. Also, Zalconian guy. One thing that's interesting is that the script mentions that his name is actually Gil Inar. Well, that name never actually gets used for him in the episode because due to his intense physical injuries, he forgot his name and most of his past. Because for some reason, the people in charge of the Zalconian homeworld have decided that all of the Zalconians have started to mutate, need to die. Now, that's an interesting one. And that's something that doesn't get looked at in a particularly deep status in the episode. It's like, why exactly does the Zalconian leadership feel that they need to kill all of the people who have started to mutate? I mean, some people, well, Gil Einar suggests that it's about controlling the population, but I mean, that seems like a potentially valid take on it. However, we don't really know exactly why. They barely even mention it because this guy doesn't show up until the end of the episode. So he's only on screen for a few minutes, and we don't get a whole lot of information about his motives. Now, what's interesting is that the Zalconian warship that Sunad is flying has a weapon that is capable of wiping out the entire crew of a Galaxy-class starship. Yeah. Asphyxiation. He had the ability to cause the people on board the Enterprise D to suffer from asphyxiation. How that works, I have no idea. It's very, very Star Trek. However, it is there. Yeah. Anyway, so again, so what I was saying earlier about how the Zalconians are one of the most egregious examples of a super interesting race is because They're a race that has that weapon, despite being an isolationist power who seemingly trades with no one. Now, we do know that they are actually a race that does, in fact, travel outside their home system. They just don't seem to do much with that. Anyways. That's actually one of the things about this episode that gets interesting is what would players do with this? Because, like, you know, the whole thing with Christy Henshaw could be seen as having a player interacting with an NPC. Sure, okay. And the thing with Sunad is kind of, sort of like, well, what would players do when talking to him? See, because in the episode, they basically just blow him off. Like, they don't actually give any serious examination of his motives, which is kind of strange to me because of the fact that you would think that they would have more motive than because population control for, you know, murdering everyone who is attempting to evolve to the whatever energy being stage. That's actually another thing with this, is that they try to say that the whole turning into an energy being thing is a good thing. However, we don't really have any information about that, whether it is in fact actually a good thing. Because one thing we do know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that John Doe wasn't the first. The Zalconian race has been having this issue for a while. They've been having members of their race start to mutate and slowly turn into energy beings. Why exactly the Zalconian government has decided to imprison or kill all of these individuals did not actually get serious discussion. It got hand-waved as them being control freaks and jerks, and something that would be interesting to look into if you were doing this in a TTRPG module. I would guess that the first few that had this come up, let's just say they were less pacifistic than John Doe was, you know. But we don't really know. I do have to say, the fact that the Zalconians have weapons that cause people to asphyxiate is a very, very strange plot detail that you could probably do something with. Especially since the asphyxiation weapon required a deus ex machina, because John Doe's powers could nullify it, but nothing else the Federation had on hand seemed to work. But, really? Yeah, again, one of those, what I said earlier about how these guys are one of the most egregious examples of a super interesting alien of the week. Why exactly is that how it works? Yeah. Anyways, well, that's about it for this one. There's, in many ways, this is something that would be kind of sort of like a bottle episode, except that it's a log bottle. Like I said earlier, it's like this is several weeks long. This is the sort of thing where you'd maybe put this as like a background plot in and do something else in the meantime, because this is a strangely long time period in universe for a single episode. But, you know, other episodes have done other things that were also interesting in that regard, so it's not exactly unique, just odd. But if you're doing this in a TTRPG, you definitely could split it up a little. At any rate, I think that's enough for this. See you next time.